Welcome to Schmoeville, that podcast that's all about the Schmoes Know and what it's like to be a fan of the Schmoes Know. I'm Ryan Snelling. Paul Wolf could not be here this week. I don't know what I'm going to do without him. Usually, he puts together this beautiful outline of the Schmoes Know show that we go off of every week. And I don't have that this week. I did a pretty lame job of making up for his absence. But that's okay. Everyone will know. If this episode goes down the shitter, it's all because of me and because I could not do it without Paul. But that's okay. I found backup. I found a fellow fan of Schmoeville, Mr. Luke Jaggers. What's up, man?
Hey, man, I'm right here in the shithole with you. So if it goes down the shitter, you can blame me too. I'm Luke. Hi, guys.
Well, I didn't want to make it sound like you'd be the reason. If this is bad, it is totally my fault.
Yeah.
No worries.
Well, it's both of our faults. Whatever. We're both going straight down the shithole, down the shitter, whatever. We'll see what happens.
Schmoevillians, some of you, I've talked to you over the past month or so about this podcast, and you're wondering how you get on the show. Luke just asked me. So it's that easy, and I really appreciate that because, like, I want Schmoeville to be able to come on this show. I mean, this show is for everyone, but I liked how you were just aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
I can relate to that. When I want to talk to somebody, I just do it. I don't sit back and wait for them to come to me. I go after what I want, and that's what you did, and I respect that. So thank you for reaching out to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on the show, sir.
No problem. Let's do a little intro for you. I want Schmoeville to know who you are. So when did you get involved with the Schmoes? When did you become a fan?
I got involved with Schmoes Know. I think I just got out of college and I was living in my apartment with my friend, and I was on YouTube one night and I found I don't know what I was watching, but I found a related ad for Collider Movie Talk. And I was watching that, and I think it was one of the mini clips and not like the full show. I didn't find the further show until later. But I found the clip, and I can't remember who was on it, but I know I saw John Campea, of course. I saw Amy Rose Eisenbach. I saw John Schnepp. And then eventually I ended up seeing Kristian and Mark show up, first Kristian and then Mark. And then, they started plugging their YouTube channel, Schmoes Know. I found that, started watching their movie reviews, ended up really liking it, and then eventually found their live show that they did every Thursday, got into that. I think around the time I got into the live show was when they were doing the Ultimate Schmoedown. So around that time is whenever I got into Schmoes, and then I got into Schmoeville like the end of last year, I think. The Facebook group. Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
So
I want Ellis to put out another album.
Yes.
Put out Get to the Castle, and I think that was 2012, if I remember that correctly. Yeah. So do that, Ellis. Get on it. Even if you have to do it yourself. I know you have the means to record yourself.
Yes.
That's all you do for a living. It's record yourself talking. So just put out another album, please.
Do it.
Let's get right into this. We have this segment called This Week in Schmoes, where we kind of cover everything that happened throughout the week prior to the Schmoes Know show, whether it be Collider Movie Talk, TV Talk, Heroes, Jedi Council, or whatever. This week was probably the worst I've ever been at watching their content. I did, but I was so busy doing other things. It was more so like in the background just so I could stay caught up. What about you?
Yeah, dude. I've been gone on vacation in Tennessee all week. I went to Pigeon Forge at Gatlinburg, so I've been in a cabin. And the other times I was out, walking around, shopping, getting drunk, all that fun stuff. And whenever I did get a chance to watch Collider or Schmoes or whatever the case may be, it was at night and it was late, and I was kind of halfway paying attention, kind of not. But I did catch up last night on a couple of things, so we should be good to go.
That's something I would like to hear from Schmoeville is, do they ever have fatigue? Because they produce, these guys, God bless them, produce so much content for us. And that's why I don't like to complain like when their live stream doesn't work. Because, I mean, they they do so much stuff. And I told Kristian, I was like, do you realize that like just on Thursday alone, I watched like 6 hours of you talking just so I can do a podcast. Thursday alone, not to mention every other day of the week.
Right.
It's I'm curious if there's like fan fatigue. But no, I guess, God, me and you should not be doing this podcast today.
Yeah, we are not qualified to do this podcast, but here we are going right down the shitter. So let's start last week with the Schmoedown. We had Macuga and Clark Wolf. I called that Clark Wolf would pull the win. What about you? Oh man, I wanted to vote for Macuga so bad. I wanted to. I love Macuga. I love Josh Macuga.
I mean, yeah, who doesn't? But I mean, when it comes to the Schmoedown,
yeah,
you got to pick Clark Wolf.
Dropped the fucking ball. He got under the lights. He, lost the questions. Clark Wolf swept up shop, and then Macuga came back, but then Clark won it. So, I mean, I was expecting Clark to win. She's phenomenal, but shit happens. So
this was the first time I picked Clark, but this was also the first time that I'd ever seen her compete. And she was so good. Like she was like immediately she climbed to the top as like one of the best fighters. And also like she also won movie fights the same week. I don't know if you watch movie fights.
I watched a little bit of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. Well,
spoiler, she won that too. So she's a fighter, and I'm looking forward to seeing her move forward in the Schmoedown for sure.
She is going to go far in this this big old thing that they're doing. She's going to definitely go far. I could even say that she has a potential to be a champion.
I agree for sure. Definitely more so than Finstock. Today's Schmoedown, and this podcast might come up after the Schmoedown actually airs. It depends on when Copster has the time to put this up. Love you, Copster. This week it's Grace Randolph versus John Campea on the Schmoedown. Oh wait, my bad. No, never mind. That joke sucked. that joke was funny. We've got Finstock versus Schnepp. Like I said, the podcast might come out afterwards, but I like finding out if we were right or not. So what are you thinking about going into today's Schmoedown?
God, I'm going to get a lot of shit for this.
Are you one of the 11%?
No, I'm not. I think John Schnepp is going to win, but I think people should not count out Finstock, because last night, even on the Schmoes Know show, which we'll get to in a minute, he said, I think people think I'm an idiot. And I think people do think he's an idiot, which, I mean, he kind of is. He wears a fucking mask. But I wouldn't count him out, because he could, pull out those random things that he knows. But like many people have said, John Schnepp is like the guru. He knows all the crap about the movies. So I think John Schnepp is going to win, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be a knockout.
I mean, that's true. I mean, Finstock could just come up with something pull it out of his ass and guess correctly. But I mean, I think he just gets one of those. It's not going to carry him throughout the entire match. There's no way. There's no way he can stay caught up with Schnepp just by doing that. Yeah, there might be one or two examples of that, but I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind that Schnepp kills it. So, again, that's pretty much the unanimous decision.
Yeah, I totally understand that, and I'm not counting anyone out that thinks that. But at the same time, I think Finstock has a little bit of a chance, and maybe we'll see that come through. But either way, it's going to be a great Schmoedown. I know it's going to be hilarious. John Schnepp is so funny, and so is Finstock, and Kristian Mark commentating. It's going to be great. I'm so excited to watch it today.
What do you think about Roca and Macuga starting this whole shit talk spree?
It was so funny whenever on last night's Schmoes and last night's movie talk, man, those guys can definitely shit talk. And I think Josh Macuga is doing a little bit better of the shit talk than John Roca, I think. I love it. I love to see it.
I loved everything Macuga was saying last night on Schmoes Know, just calling him out for slamming his fists on the desk and things like that. It's kind of funny. I think I chose Mance in Mance vs. Roca, but I still just love the dynamic. Like, the shit talking made Schmoes so much better. And it's like that Hal Rudnick, Sam Levine fight stands out as like just not being good enough compared to all of these others. I'm glad these two are going at it, and I'm glad that Macuga brought out the gloves as well.
Yeah, that Scott Mance fight, man. Scott fucking Mance. It was so good.
Pretty good.
Thank you. Yeah, Roka's a smart dude, but come on, man. Bespin. Everyone's gonna hold that over your head for the rest of your days, man. Come on. Show your strengths, come back, fight Josh Macuga, and win it. I would like John Roka to win, but obviously I'm a fan of I'm blanking right now.
Who?
Josh Macuga. I like Josh Macuga a lot, but I would love for John Roka to win. So I'm pulling for John Roka.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's see what else happened this week. Collider Heroes. Are you a big Heroes fan?
Yes, I am. I was debating wearing a Black Panther shirt today, but I instead chose Leatherface. So yes, I'm a huge comic book nerd. I love DC and Marvel. You can do both, people.
You can do both. That's correct.
Yes, and I love John Schnepp. Like I've said, I've seen his documentary. It's great. I love Heroes, and I love all the people that he has on there. So yes, I watched Heroes this week.
I just wanted to bring it up because I think it's hilarious that it's always so long.
Yeah,
like this week's episode was 2 hours.
Yep.
What do you think about? We talked about this last week, me and Paul. I talked about how I feel like, unfortunately, Schnepp was not going to make his goal on Kickstarter, and I predicted that hopefully he had some kind of angel investor. So, what do you think about? Do you have anything to say about the fact that he pulled it from Kickstarter? And thankfully, he's getting the movie made regardless. But do you have any thoughts on that?
I love it. I think he's a great director. I think he has a lot of potential. He worked on other animated stuff before, and then he made this Superman documentary, which is fantastic. I love that he got a personal investor to help him out, but all the people supporting him on Kickstarter is great too. Obviously, it shows that a lot of people like John Schnepp. So I'm stoked that he's getting the movie made, and I'm really excited to watch it.
Exactly. I agree completely. Let's see. What else do we got here? Happy birthday, Ken Knapsack, from the bottom of our hearts in Schmoeville. I know that this was a few days ago, but I just wanted to give you a shout out. Happy 40th, bud.
Happy birthday.
Do you want to get into this whole Grace Randolph thing?
Oh, God. Yeah, let's get into it, man. So
the only reason we're talking about this is, obviously Randolph is not a part, not a part of the Schmoes clan, but I mean, she's attacking our bros.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. And I follow all these people on Twitter. I saw the I don't know if you call them arguments they're arguments.
Yeah.
They're kind of one-sided arguments because I feel like Kristian played it classy. And then Campea has a right to be mad. But so anyway, let's just get into this. So Grace Randolph, she's this YouTuber. She does Beyond the Trailer. She's talking shit. There's this whole Warner Brothers versus Disney, or Marvel rather, argument that I can't stand, because like you said, you can be a fan of both, but it's getting so hardcore that now people in the business, these movie personalities, are blaming one another for fueling this fire, essentially by accusing, just to be specific, Grace Randolph is accusing people like John Campea for being paid off of Marvel and enjoying the film. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Campea says it all the time that he's the one that defends Batman v Superman. He defended it on movie fights and won the damn fight. So she's just pulling shit out of her ass at this point. But how are you responding to all of this as it unfolds over this past week?
Man, I'm gonna try to say this without losing my damn mind.
Don't lose your mind. Just stay classy. But I would. Let's not get Grace tweeting us, because that's not what we. Right. I just want to know what your reaction was to. This.
Obviously, I back John. I think this whole thing is ridiculous. I think Disney/Marvel doesn't pay off critics. That's just my opinion. I think that John responded accurately with a YouTube thing. Obviously, it's going to fuel a flame a little bit, but still, he's not just going to sit idly by, because that's not who John is. And then Kristian obviously tweeting back saying inviting her on Schmoes is great. He's very classy in that. And John put out a tweet the other night that I responded to. he was saying that I'm not attacking her just because she's a girl. I'm attacking her because of the things that she's saying, and I really respected that about John, and I've always respected John.
I didn't see that. Where did that come from? What does the fact that she's a female have anything to do with it? Who brought that up?
Well, fucking apparently some people are, so whatever, man.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand the internet a lot of times, but you know, that's how people are. I'm trying to find the tweet real quick because I know I responded to it. But yeah, man, people on the internet are ridiculous. And I think this girl, I have no idea who she is. Before this, I literally had no idea who she was. And then seeing all this stuff about her pop up on my timeline, I'm just like, okay, what is going on here? I did some digging, and I just saw that, you know, the Marvel and DC thing, which is fucking insanity. But yeah, I'm trying to find it.
I just don't think like this is kind of a separate argument, but I hate people that argue DC versus Marvel, and I don't want to go too much into, you know, movie talk, but I mean, it's just that Marvel films so far have clearly been better.
Yeah.
Like it just like for people to come out and be like, you're a DC hater. No, I have no problem accepting that DC can make a good movie.
Yeah.
They just haven't done it yet. Like aside from the Dark Knight trilogy, which is, you know, that transcends the superhero genre. Like everyone loves the Dark Knight trilogy, that people say it's, you know, one of the best trilogies ever made. But DC, there are people that still cry out that there are DC haters. And it's just like, think about what you're actually saying. Because Dark Knight trilogy has universal praise, and every other movie is just clearly inferior. Like there's just no debate. So that doesn't mean that DC can't make a great film. And I totally get, like, Batman v Superman was a movie that I just thought was meh. But if someone said that they loved it, I would say, okay, that's fair. Or if they absolutely hate it, I'd say, yeah, I totally get that too. So that's why I just hate this whole thing. Because taking that logic to these critics and the movie personalities that we follow, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. And Grace, of all people, should know better. I mean, I just hate it. And I don't like, well, I take that back. I love when Campea rants about things. But I don't want someone to disrupt the schmoes and, you know, the stuff that I watch every week either. So
John tweeted out on 420 at 5:35 p.m. Guys, while I totally appreciate the support, I don't appreciate using sexist C and B terms doing it. Issue is with a person, not her gender. So I appreciate that. I appreciate him saying that because apparently people were calling her a bitch and the C word, obviously, which you shouldn't attack her gender. You should attack the person for what they're saying, which I totally agree with, because this theory that Marvel is paying off people is fucking stupid, and you're stupid if you think that. Boom.
I like Campea's reaction there. I'm really disappointed that even got brought up.
Yeah.
Whether it was by the fans or whatever. So what else happened in Schmoes? They put out their Huntsman review. They essentially just think it blows ass. So that's a movie I'll definitely be skipping this weekend for sure. Yeah. That's why it's a good thing to watch these reviews. They let you know what you can miss. What you can't. So thank you guys.
We should talk about Movie Talk yesterday, because there's a couple things that I liked about Movie Talk yesterday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go for it.
Whitney Moore, who was a guest on Movie Talk yesterday, I've never had any interaction with her, but she was great. She worked well with John Roca and Kristian. And then the wonderful, as always, Sinead DeFries. Hi, Sinead, if you're listening. I have a major crush on you. Hello. Moving to LA in December. Say hi, Sinead. Anyway, I loved Movie Talk yesterday. They talked about all the good stuff that came out yesterday, which there was a lot of stuff. The Bourne trailer, Prince. Obviously, I want to take a minute and say Prince was a god amongst men. He was great, and he's going to be heavily missed. Hearing them talk about that was great. Talk about the Jason Bourne trailer, obviously. And then a couple other things were good, too. They previewed Elvis and Nixon, which sounds great, which they also did on Schmoes Know later, which we'll talk about. But yeah, I really liked Movie Talk yesterday. How did you feel about the episode?
That was the one I had. I was so busy yesterday. I had stuff going on with film beef and work. That was one of those episodes that I just kind of had on, but I was watching it. But no, I mean, I agree. I love the guest. I thought she was fantastic, and that's all I've got really. Other than it was just another great episode of Movie Talk. I love that Sinead's back too, for sure. So
yeah, love her.
I hope she responds to you.
I hope so too. Sinead, notice me. Okay, hi. Sorry, I'm done fangirling.
I feel like that's one of the best things about this podcast is I think Paul has had a moment to reveal his crush. I've had a moment to reveal a crush, and now you have here too. So yeah, Schmoeville, if you need to reveal a crush to the Schmoes, send me a message and I'll make sure it gets out for sure. Okay, let's get into the meat of the show, which is talking about yesterday's Schmoes Know show. So it's episode 229. Our fantasy movies doomed and Game of Thrones season 6 preview. We started off with Ellis, Kristian, Sasha. By the way, this is the point where you're absolutely going to feel Paul's absence because this is where he usually picks up.
Sorry, Paul.
That's fine. It's not your fault. I think the theme of this week, and I want to start off with this because it also involves Collider. The theme of this week is just Kristian being cranky.
Oh my God!
He was cranky. He called Ellis a ball bag, and that whole episode of Movie Talk that day was just off for some reason. But it was like kind of like funny off, like it was weird. But I think Kristian had enough by the end of that episode.
him going off on the live chat was so fucking funny. I was literally crying because I was laughing so hard.
I love when he does that. And you can argue like, hey, you shouldn't do that to your fans, but I support it completely.
Yeah.
I totally get it because as a creator myself, and you're a creator as well, I mean, we do our best to just provide entertainment and we want honest feedback from fans, but people just don't realize that they, like Kristian said, you don't have to watch. Like there are times, and I do this, like on TV Talk every week when they talk about Game of Thrones, I just skip ahead. Last night when they talked about Game of Thrones, I skipped ahead because I'm not caught up on that show, and I didn't need to worry about it. So
like, don't be a ball bag.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to watch something, you don't have to watch it, but you don't have to actively go out and say, hey, this sucks, or hey, please change this, because they're not going to change it for you. Just because they see some guys shit talking in the chat, they're not going to stop and halt everything. You just take the show for what it is and whatever. And it's not like a scripted show. I mean, we're fans of the Schmoes because of what they do, and that's just part of what they do. And if we're not the audience for like a Game of Thrones segment, then we just skip it. Okay.
Yep.
So and the big thing that he went off about was how they're doing, I forgot what they called it. The naughty questions thing next week.
Yes.
That kind of replaces the after hours.
Yes.
So I want to talk about this before we get into anything else, partly because there's an announcement involved. Guys, they're going to do this game, and they talked about it. They described it way better than I could because I totally just blanked on what they were calling it. But they're playing this game next week where they're going to ask each other inappropriate questions, and they explained how it was going to work. The audience isn't going to know the questions, but people are going to answer it. Like, for example, someone's going to say, hey, who do you think is the best in bed? And then the person will answer it, but we won't have known the actual question, and we'll find out the question later, and then we can match and see whatever. So they explained it a whole lot better than I can. So just watch Schmoes Know if you haven't caught up already. Actually, why the hell are you listening to this podcast if you didn't watch it? So I don't have to explain it. I want to know, because that was what brought up Kristian's rant, was someone reacting to this game. Now, after having said that you don't have to watch it, and that's fine, you don't have to like it or whatever, I do have an opinion on it still.
Okay.
So going into next week and watching this game, I think that the rules are clear. Like, I definitely get, and I definitely understood how they were explaining it. And I don't have to watch it. My only worry is that, and this might change. I might totally be wrong. And when I actually see it unfold, it might make absolute sense. But as of right now, I hear the announcement, and I'm kind of thinking that it's more so for them and not us. I didn't know if you had an opinion on that.
No, I kind of agree with you. I wasn't thinking that before, but now that you bring it up, I think that makes sense. I definitely think as for them for sure, because we're going to have to put 2 and 2 together to even find out what they're thinking about. So yeah, it's definitely for them. In the moment, they're going to be the ones that are going to be laughing, and it's going to cause us to laugh, obviously. But it's definitely for them.
Like the example that I threw out is like, I would love to find out who Miri thinks is the best in bed out of like Copster, Ace, and Upham. So like, I would love to hear that, but like, we're not actually hearing it there in the moment. Yeah. And it kind of, the way they described it, it kind of seems like it'd be really difficult because the answers are just essentially going to be, and not just the names of people. Like, I'm sure it's going to be numbers and just like specific like locations. Like, I'm not sure what the answers are going to be, but it might be actually kind of difficult to match it up. Like, so difficult that like we might just not ever know. So I guess it depends. Again, we'll watch it unfold next week. I might totally be wrong, but based on my impression today, I feel like I'm not going to be in on the joke as much as they will be. So I'm hoping for sure to have a really fun week next week. But that's just sort of my concern.
No, yeah, I totally agree with you. That could definitely be a concern. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Right. But in no way am I, Bruce Wayne or whoever the hell was bitching about it, because they can do it. It's their show and it might actually be good. They know what they're doing more so than I do. So, yeah. But again, if I don't like it, well, then whatever. I mean, there's plenty of stuff like even going back. I mean, just because I'm a new fan to Schmoes, just watching their programs, there's a lot of things that I'm not in on. A lot of stuff they bring up, and that's why we have a segment like Time Capsule. Every week they bring up things that I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about, just because I've missed years of content.
Yes. So. Yeah, they've been around for years, and I said this to someone the other day. I said they're very much like Howard Stern, which Kristian has said multiple times is who they base their show kind of on. And my dad actually got me into Howard Stern, and it's funny that I watch Schmoes Know now because you get that same vibe from that. But the same thing goes for Howard Stern. If you don't listen to Howard Stern for a really long time, he'll reference stuff from 10 years ago or something, and you'll have no idea what it means. You have to go Google or whatever. So if you want to know more about the Schmoes and what they're talking about, just go back and watch some of the episodes that we're going to mention in these time capsules things. So yeah, I think what you're doing is great with the time capsule thing, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
And, we were kind of doing announcements at the same. I'll just get rid of the announcements because I brought up the Gmail and the game and everything. So I'll just finish the announcements and then we'll go back into the Schmoes Know show. Cool. Miss you, Paul. So Dan Murrell versus Scott Mance. That's happening May 20th, if you guys didn't know. Also, make sure you send Kristian category ideas for the Schmoedowns. I don't think they're running on empty. I feel like they have a shitload of questions in their arsenal, but get creative. I'm kind of curious to see what people can come up with because I'm blanking. I don't have any ideas. Do you have any category ideas that you want to let Kristian know about?
Nude scenes in movies.
Okay.
That's a good one for Josh Macuga.
Interesting. Like, interesting. Like, who did somebody have sex with in this movie or something like that?
Yes.
How many sex scenes has this actress been in? Like something like that?
Yes. I think that would be a great category.
Kristian, if you're listening, there you go. I kind of like that.
There you go, Kristian.
I've had like 2 seconds to think of example questions, but I think you could do a better job. And also, Macuga would do great at that because he's the one who threw out like that one movie has a sex scene 17 minutes in or something. What a crazy ass guy.
Yep, he's the wild man for a reason.
The other announcement I have is that people, including myself, were wondering if they were going to do Game of Thrones recaps. Macuga said that him, Dennis, and a guest will do like episode reviews. I think it's more so in the format of like what Schnepp and them did for Daredevil. Obviously, but Game of Thrones is a weekly thing, not a binge. So I don't know what the difference is going to be between just a standard recap show that Collider does and that. But so Game of Thrones fans, they're going to be doing that every week. The last announcement is actually just me addressing Schmoeville. I follow the Facebook group. I love it. The Facebook group is the reason why this podcast exists. I just want to address everyone and say that, guys, I love your memes, but a lot of you are posting memes that have a ton of like spelling errors and It completely takes me out of the meme when I see one. Like, I want to laugh, and a lot of the memes are still funny, but as soon as I see a typo, I'm that person that's like, God, I want to take that out of there. It's so bad.
Yes. I completely agree. Yep.
That's stupid. Yep. Please feel free to comment on YouTube and let me know how much of a shitbird I am.
Yeah, hate. Give us the hate. I know you're hating right now, and we're going right down the shitter. So that's the theme of today. If you're hating what we're talking about, just throw us down the shitter. So there we go.
After this episode goes up, Kristian's gonna message me and be like, "Hey, make sure that Paul doesn't miss another week."
I'm sorry, Kristian. Love you.
Let's go back to Schmoes Know show. So what was really funny is that I had a concern that Sasha talking about celebrities like poorly was going to ruin my idea of them. It was really funny to hear Ellis talk about Gary Cole being in that restaurant. I really wish, I really wish that they got him on the Schmoes. And I was also praying to God that Sasha got up from her chair and went across the street to grab him
and sit on his face.
I don't know. Do I want to see that? I think okay. So that would have been amazing. And unfortunately, Kristian put a halt to that. Let me ask you this, since you've been a fan longer than I have. I'm hearing a lot about After Hours show. And I've seen clips. They have like 2-minute long clips on YouTube, but I don't think that those are what they're referencing every time they talk about the shit show that was the After Hours show. So what do you know about this, if anything? So
from what I've heard, I didn't see the episode of the After Hours show, but from what I've heard, they got really drunk and they were answering questions. And I went on Schmoeville and read a little bit about it. I don't remember how I read about it, but something brought up the After Hours show. And I asked if there's a clip anywhere, and someone said no. But from what I've gathered, someone, I don't know who, someone was being like really drunk and being kind of weird about it. And that's why they didn't do it from then on. So yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know why the After Hours show gets so much hate. So hopefully that's obviously that it's going to change a little bit. Obviously it's not going to be a direct after thing, but we're getting a little bit of that with next week's episode. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Kristian, feel free to start that back up. I know you might not be into what happened in the past, but feel free to bring that back up because this sounds like something I would want to watch for sure.
Oh, yeah, same.
So, I'm sorry I missed out on that then, but that's okay. So they talked about fantasy movies, and, you know, sometimes Paul gets carried away, and sometimes I have to listen to Paul talk about his opinions on movies or whatever. But I just think it's funny that Ellis was talking about the fact that Game of Thrones essentially ruined fantasy movies because we had such like great material on TV that people didn't need to watch fantasy movies anymore. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I don't agree either.
I feel like that's, you know, going back to the superhero argument where like Marvel and DC, you want the other to do well. That way the genre thrives. And that's how I view it. I think if fantasy does well on TV, then it'll do well in movies. So it's got to be something else then, because obviously it's not working for fantasy films. I think to me, and I know that you're into music, to me, fantasy is like the pop punk of the movie genre. Like for me, pop punk is so singular, and to me, even though it might not be, I mean, someone could argue that I'm totally wrong, but for me personally, pop punk is so singular and it all sounds the same.
Yep.
But you get like one band, like A Day to Remember or whatever, to completely like, obviously they're the band that, you know, just kind of is accessible to everybody, even frat bros. They're like, you have one of those that will break through. And I think like Lord of the Rings is the case. But I mean, just fantasy to me is so singular. And I think they're right that it just kind of always feels like it's the same. These Marvel movies, you can kind of change, and, you know, you can change the genre inside of a Marvel movie, and Marvel does that very well. But like when we get fantasy, we just get fantasy. I don't know how you feel about that, but
I feel pretty strongly about this. I think that there's obviously a lack of fantasy movies. I'm trying to keep my opinions low to this, but last night I wrote down a couple movies that could potentially be Halo, Mass Effect, Yu-Gi-Oh, which a lot of people don't talk about. Obviously, it's something that has to wait and see to see how
Warcraft.
That does, to see if Halo and Mass Effect could potentially be a thing. But those are definitely two movies that could be in the fantasy genre.
Well, you sound like you're talking about video game movies, not fantasy.
Yes, that's true, but they kind of intertwine a little bit because
maybe. I think
so
both of those would be like science fiction, though. Come on. You know it.
Okay, you got me.
You know it to be true.
Okay, you got me. But still, Warcraft. I think Warcraft could definitely be a potential to see if there could be a renaissance of fantasy movies. So I guess we'll wait and see, because there hasn't been really any good ones lately other than The Hobbit, which I'm not into Lord of the Rings. So
Ellis also said that kids have cell phones and drugs now. I don't really know what that means. Like, I don't really see how that correlates with people going to see fantasy movies. I don't know if he's kind of right. I mean, yes, kids have cell phones and drugs, but I'm not sure I understand the correlation between that and the fact that fantasy movies are fake. But nice try, Ellis.
Yeah.
As always, we got Sasha's indie picks, which are always interesting because indie movies just don't get covered enough, I think. You know, you can watch Alicia Malone's YouTube. She's great. I'm glad she's doing that. She took time away from Schmoes to do more for indies on her YouTube channel, which was fantastic. She talked about Elvis and Nixon, The Meddler, and Sky, which I want to point out because Sasha is in that movie.
Yeah.
And she talked about how it's in select theaters right now and that it'll eventually be on VOD. I did some digging. It's actually available right this second on Amazon, iTunes, and Google Play. So yeah, you can find Sasha Pearl Raver in Sky. So definitely do that and let her know what you thought of the movie. I think right now it's got a 45% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh,
but didn't Sasha say something like she kind of knew it was like, but she was happy to be in it anyway? Okay, so that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fire. That's fair. But definitely check that out. And you can, I might be wrong, but you can check it out at wheretowatch.org. I think I plugged that site a couple episodes ago. That's the best way to figure out like where things are streaming and where you can just access any movie. Cause obviously nowadays marketplaces are so spread across it's difficult to find where something is. So go to wheretowatch.org and you just type in the title and it'll tell you how you can watch it right then and there. So, let Sasha know that you watched the movie. Brettflix, I love how his entire review, well, not his entire review, but most of his review just was based on the fact that he had to read The Raid.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen The Raid, and I know you can. Okay, I was gonna say you can crucify me all you want, but I feel a whole lot better that you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
I'm definitely gonna watch it now. I'm gonna take Brettflix. I'm going to take that as an opportunity to kind of go back and discover movies for myself. Yeah. That I've missed along the way. So I'm definitely going to watch that this week and probably watch The Raid too. So I really respect Brett's commitment to this segment because they just built it up that he was so busy. And for a while, it kind of seemed like he was barely going to get in the one movie that we asked him to watch. And I hate that people are attacking him because I think it's kind of funny to have I think it's funny to talk to people about movies, but still want to talk about movies. Wait, did I say that right? Did I say that right?
I think so. I understood what you're saying.
So it's a lot of the times I'm constantly following people that love movies. I can talk to you, Luke, that loves movies, but to hear someone not know much about movies, but they want to talk about it, it's hilarious. I love hearing their perspective. So,
I actually feel strongly about this because last night he was saying that people thought he was stupid and like Schmoeville, if you are participating and giving Brett shit, stop it because he fits right in. He's great. I love this segment so much. I think it's great. Stop. Lay off on Brett. He's doing his best. You know, they brought him in for a reason. He fits right in.
He just got a family. Like, so what?
He's just funny.
Like, the Schmoes fans are like so like getting elitist. Like Mark and Kristian are on this high horse. I mean, I love Mark and Kristian's opinions. I mean, they're the ones like more than anybody, their reviews, I'm just always on the same page. So when I see them review a movie, for the most part, I'm usually on board with them completely. And I agree with a lot of the things they usually say about movies. But at the same time, their whole shtick about being schmoes is that they're just like regular guys and not snobby film critics.
Yeah.
So it's like, and they're like stand-up comedians. Like they come from, I know Kristian worked in the studio system for a little while. But I mean, it's just like their whole thing is that they're just like everyday guys talking about this stuff. So why are we acting like Brett can't do the same?
Right. I totally agree with what you said.
Good.
Yeah, good. People should stop giving Brett shit. Stop shit talking Brett, or he'll come to you and say that you're stupid.
Stop shit talking any of the schmoes. I mean, what kind of fan are you if you go after like? I mean, everyone brings a different personality and identity, and you just should appreciate that. And if it's not your thing, then you don't have to watch, but you also don't have to be angry about it. But to go back to the point I originally said, he's committing, and he talked about how he even watched the Raid 2. And he didn't even like the Raid 1, and he still watched it. So I think that's super awesome that he did that for us.
Yep, I definitely wouldn't have. So props to you.
Okay, so Copster did a Blu-ray review this week of The Revenant. I want to talk about what you think of this segment, because he's been kind of, and you can see it, he's kind of figuring out where this should go. Where do you think is the best fit for Copster's Blu-ray review?
Clobster. I really like his Blu-ray reviews. I try to buy Blu-rays as much as I can. Obviously, I don't want to spend all my money on Blu-rays, but he does actually help me buy Blu-rays, because last night, coincidentally, I was at Walmart and I saw that they had The Revenant, but I saw Schmoes Know before I went to Walmart. So him actually reviewing The Revenant made me not want to buy it because of some of the things that he said. So I don't know. I really like The Revenant, but obviously his review of it said that there's not very many special features, and the documentary is on YouTube. So that made me not want to buy it.
I appreciate you saying that, because the Blu-ray segment is not really for me. Like I just personally decide whether I want to buy a Blu-ray or not, just on my own. Yeah. But I'm glad that there are people out there like you, and like I mentioned, Mark and Kristian helped me figure out what movies I should go back and watch, movies I can go watch in the theater. You're saying that Copster helps you figure out what Blu-rays to buy, and I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because I could not say that. So I appreciate that for sure.
Hell yeah. Keep doing you, Copster.
For sure. Yeah, that's that's the second theme of the week. The first one is we miss you, Paul, and the second is all the schmoes just keep doing what you're doing.
Yes.
For God's sake. Finstock showed up.
God damn it. Fucking Finstock.
How do you feel about Finstock? So I'm still learning this character, but I love that it's a character. Like, I love the aspects of Schmoes where it feels like WWE, where they kind of like produce it a little bit. And my impression of Finstock is that he's like one of the portions of the show that's completely produced. Because obviously his actual name isn't Finstock. I think it's Tom.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about Finstock showing up on Schmoes?
Finstock is this weird dude that wears a mask. And I don't know where I think he's friends with Kristian. Because I think he may have done stand-up or something. But I actually went back and watched the first episode with Finstock. And I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about the dude. He's really funny. Obviously, he's got fin socks, apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. This dude is he just shows up and he just says some shit and then he leaves. And that's how Finstock is. And I feel like I said before, with the Howard Stern thing, Howard Stern has these people on the show that randomly show up, say some shit, and then leave. And that's how I feel exactly with Finstock. So Kristian Harloff just followed me on Twitter. So I'm kind of freaking out.
Right this second?
Huh?
Like right this second?
Yeah, he literally, Kristian Harloff followed you back. Damn. Okay. All right.
I'm leaving this in. I want Kristian to hear your.
All right. Hey, Kristian.
Did you know Kristian listens to this podcast?
Yeah, I did. It's just Paul tagged us in that tweet earlier, and he retweeted. he retweeted it and then he followed me. So yeah, I'm very stoked. Hi, Kristian.
I want to take a second. I want to take a second to talk about this. So,
okay.
What are you actually? Please be candid. How do you feel knowing that Kristian Harloff? Because I've had that same moment. You know, I've shared that same moment. What does that feel like being honestly a fan of someone and then getting the follow back?
Honestly, here's the thing. I've been in the music like thing for a while. I've talked to you about this, and you know, I've met tons of bands and stuff, and I've done podcasts where I interview bands and everything. So I'm kind of used to it, and kind of used to this feeling of, you know, meeting a band and blah blah blah. So, but here's the thing. I've always been a film fan before anything else, before music, before anything. I remember my dad showing me Star Wars. I remember going to see X-Men in the theater for the first time. My grandma and grandpa took me to see Signs. So I've always been a film fan, and what Kristian and Mark mean to me is that they just have this aura about them, and they make it seem like they're not just these dudes. They're not these movie critics like we were talking about just 10 minutes ago.
They're not elitist.
Yeah, they're not. They're just these two cool guys, and that's the thing I want to make clear to everyone is they are two guys. They're not like this, you know, high up people, so you can treat them like human beings. You know, it's very easy to do that. But I'm very stoked. Obviously, I'm moving out to LA in December, like I've said before. And one of my goals, obviously, is to meet them. So now that Kristian follows me, it makes me very excited. And I'm sorry, Kristian, if you're listening to this right now. I'm sorry if you see all the bullshit that I tweet. So I'm sorry that you have to deal with that. You have full freedom to mute me if you want to.
I think he follows a ton of people, so he probably doesn't see everything that either one of us say.
Right.
But I mean, I wanted to hear you say that because I mean that's part of what this podcast is about. It's kind of like a window. I know that, I mean, they've got a Facebook group, so they know a lot of what the fans are talking about, and obviously fans blow their Twitters up. But I mean, that's something I want to do on this podcast is hear from people like you who can share their personal accounts. I'm sure they get emails, but I just want them to hear more. I want them to hear so many different points of view. Yeah,
totally. I agree.
And like I said, I had that moment when Kristian followed me back. I was like, what is my life? And you mentioned this to me earlier in the week that not many of your friends even know who the Schmoes are. So it's just it's awesome that we can come together because of this group and because of their content and all this stuff. And like I said, I mean, they inspire us to create as well. So yeah, we've been blowing them long enough, but yeah, I think it's fun. I love being a fan of things. Like you said, I'm from Kentucky. You're my neighbor in Indiana. Like to me, and I kind of like this. To me, like Hollywood is like another world. Like I'm one of those people that is like just starstruck by everything, and I kind of like that because it makes me feel like I have like this like boyhood wonder.
Yeah.
even though it's about like people that are just everyday people when you come down to it.
Yeah.
It keeps me excited and like, God, we got away from the show, but
yes, we did. We were talking about Clob, Fob, Stobber, and then Kristian followed me. So sorry, guys.
Kristian's going to yell at me, be like, hey, you didn't talk about the show, but Kristian, I wanted you to hear that. So there's that. Yes. To get back on track, the news, fantastic again.
The
news is always good, always one of the best segments for sure. Then we get to Macuga's game, and it's not a Macuga game without Macuga fucking it up. So he completely botched one of the trivia questions, which again he might get hate for, but I think it's kind of hilarious. But yeah, what did you think about that game? Because, you know, he even made a joke that like before we lose every single fan we have. What did you think about that game?
I loved it because I've been a fan of wrestling since I was a kid. I'm not up to date with it. I watched WrestleMania a couple weeks ago, but I don't like watch it daily. I don't watch Monday Night Raw, or I don't watch SmackDown, but I do know who all the wrestlers are and all that stuff. So I loved it, and I love that Ken Knapsack and Kristian Harloff know so much. Obviously Kristian because he worked with WWE back in the day. But I loved it. I thought it was great hearing Ken Knapsack get all those questions right off the bat. It was so much fun. I loved it. Josh Macuga always comes up with funny games.
there's something about Ken Knapsack that like I just have, and I think I've spoken about this before on this podcast. Like, there's just like an admiration for him, and like we hear from. There's very little Ken Knapsack compared to everyone else, but like I felt like Sasha. Because I feel like Sasha just sat there, probably didn't know anything about wrestling. You might, Sasha. I'm just assuming that you don't, and maybe that's wrong with me. But I just feel like I was like Sasha, where I didn't know a whole lot of what they were talking about, but I just like admired Ken Knapsack for knowing all of it.
Yes.
Like,
I love Ken Knapsack. He's so good. He's so good at everything he does. The news is so good. Yeah, I really appreciate him, and keep doing what you're doing, Ken Knapsack. Obviously, that's a theme.
Again, they talked about Game of Thrones, but I can't really speak to that because I'm not caught up on the show. So
Same.
I had to skip that segment, unfortunately.
Yep, I did too.
But now that we know, Kristian totally understands if we don't watch their content. So
yeah,
I get a pass.
Yes.
But another great episode of Schmoes Know Show. I look forward to every Thursday. Luckily we're Easterner. Is that the word I want? We're in the Eastern time zone. So for us, the show comes on at 10 for us. And that's perfect because the latest I work on Thursdays is 9:30. So I get to come home and unwind to that show. Yeah. I always look forward to Thursday, but that's enough for stating the obvious, because obviously I love the show because this podcast wouldn't exist. If I didn't. So let's get into the time capsule. I want to talk about a couple things that I thought were relevant. I don't know if you've seen these. Hopefully you have, but we can at least talk about it. So the first thing I wanted to mention is I don't remember how it happened, but I remember them referring to the Blue Fairy incident. Yeah. And do you know about that?
Yes, I've heard them talk about it multiple times. And correct me, I don't know. But I think I was watching that live show when it happened because they were doing the Ultimate Schmoedown. And I remember, I think it was, who was it that was competing in that?
It was Kristian versus Macuga.
Okay. I don't remember. I know I was watching.
I'm pretty sure it was late 2014. I might be confusing that with the other segment I'm going to be talking about, but it was when they were in the AfterBuzz studio for sure.
Yes, I remember that studio for sure, and I remember watching the Schmoedown because I remember watching Finstock and JTE against Schnepp and Zhang.
Oh my God, when they dressed up as Batman and Superman.
God damn, yeah.
That's one of the funniest entrances ever when they come out.
Yes.
Schnepp just coming out, looking around, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I think that's the same episode where Kristian came out and did The Rock. No, that might have been when he faced Cody.
I don't remember, man.
There was one where Kristian comes out, and it was kind of confusing because he says he's Darth Harloff, but he's clearly impersonating The Rock. His impression of The Rock was amazing. Oh my God. It was so good. God, that's probably my favorite thing about watching the older Schmoedowns is just their entrances. And I wish their entrances were like played up a little bit more because obviously they don't dress up really. Well, Roka and Mance kind of dressed up in their Sheriff Outlaw uniform. But I would love to see like bigger entrances.
I agree.
That's what I miss. Miss going back. So we learned about Blue Fairy, and again, I don't remember. It was a total coincidence. I remember them mentioning Blue Fairy sometime last week, and then I was looking for segments to cover on Time Capsule, and it happened to be that one. And this also goes with the theme that Kristian is just cranky because this Blue Fairy thing, he guessed the wrong Blue Fairy, and I guess he wanted some clarification on the question or whatever, and he did not stop talking about it. And obviously to this day they're still arguing about it. It was a funny Schmoedown overall. I loved how Macuga, like, they asked him a question. They asked him to name the El Mariachi trilogy, and his response was just no, that he wasn't going to answer the question because he didn't clearly know. But this is also the same episode, and I think they covered it in like Copster's Break or something last week because this was like fresh in my mind, and then I was watching it on replay when I was covering Time Capsule, where Macuga guessed Matthew Broderick and just pulled it out of his ass and then won the damn thing because his wager was higher, if I remember it correctly. So, God, that's got to be extremely frustrating for Kristian to lose. Because Macuga
against fucking Macuga, of all people. I would be pretty pissed. I would be pretty pissed if I was Kristian.
For sure. The other thing I wanted to talk about was this. It was another clip, and I don't remember the exact title of it. We miss you, Paul. Alicia and Kristian were basically grilled. I guess Between the Sheets at the time was probably fresh and new because I think, again, this was 2014. So they had Macuga come on and do his rapid fire segment with Kristian and Alicia. And I wanted to talk about this because I thought it was going to be somewhat inappropriate, making it kind of relevant to the after hours thing and then the personal questions game next week. So Alicia and Kristian were grilled. And one of my favorite quotes from Kristian, which doesn't really relate to what happened, but he said that the movie Glitter with Mariah Carey, he says, "Glitter was so bad, I punched my roommate and he apologized." I thought that was hilarious. So, but I love the answers to some of these questions. So Macuga asked Alicia, like kind of like a fuck, marry, kill style. What guy she would take home to mom and dad, which one she would show off to an ex, and then which one she would have a one night stand with. She would take Copster home to meet her mom and dad. She would take Mark Riley to show off to an ex, and her one night stand would be with Tiffany. And they responded with that answer to enormous applause and shouting.
Yes. Yes. That is great. I love Alicia.
The unattractive celebrity that they'd want to have sex with, and Kristian answered the babysitter in Crazy Stupid Love. Have you seen that movie?
It's been a really long time, but I know who he's talking about.
And Alicia said Liam Neeson. I don't really understand. And then their favorite sex scene in a movie that they wish they were in. Alicia picked the one in The Notebook, and Kristian picked the one in Original Sin with Angelina Jolie. So I guess Kristian has this huge thing with Angelina Jolie. So that's the kind of stuff that I liked hearing. I hope that is what comes out in the personal questions game next week for sure. I'm looking forward to them getting down and dirty. Speaking of down and dirty, the quote of the week, I don't know if we're going to do this every week, but Kristian was ranting about the fans bitching on YouTube. And as the fan, he read, "My asshole fell out." I'd never heard that one in my life, so I love that. I think we're wrapping it up here. That's all I've got, really. I know you wrote some stuff down. Is there anything that you wanted to cover? I mean, you have the floor since you were our guest this week.
I'm not really thinking of anything besides Brett. Brett always comes in clutch. Brett's chemistry with everybody is great. Kristian, your impression of Macho Man killed me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't have anything else other than that. Elvis and Nixon was good from Sasha. So, yeah, I was really stoked on Schmoes Know this week. Obviously, the rest of the shows were good, too. Movie Talk was good this week. I haven't watched Jedi Council yet. I'm planning to do that after this ends. And then Heroes was good, too. So, yeah.
Jedi Council was fun. I caught that last night. Do you know who the guests are?
Yes, they're Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. Am I right?
Yep. That's right. So that was a fun episode for sure.
Yeah, I never watched Clone Wars, so I'm more of a Rebels guy, but I'm still stoked about it regardless. I love Jedi Council.
I haven't either. I have not. I don't think I've watched season 1 of Rebels, but I have not seen season 2. In fact, there was a minor Twitter feud between me and Freddie Prinze Jr. over the fact that I couldn't watch season 2.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, I was like yelling at my phone. I was like, "What are you doing?" Yeah, I'm really glad that you had that interaction because it gave me comedy gold.
But yeah, I haven't caught up on the cartoons. That's that one portion of Jedi Council. I have to fast forward. Jedi Council, I think, is the only Collider show that doesn't have the sidebar. So it's really hard for me to judge how far I can skip ahead. I don't know if you've ever realized that. But I mean, I understand why they don't, because their show is essentially just like 3 chunks. Movie news, canon, and then Twitter questions. So they don't really need a sidebar, but I have to navigate my way through the episode carefully to avoid like Rebel spoilers and stuff. Yeah. So, but anyway, that's all I got, man. I'm glad that this was sort of like we had Xander on a couple weeks ago. Our glorious Facebook admin. I was happy to have him on, but technically you're like the first like Schmoevillian like fan to come on the show. So I'm really glad you did. And again, you reached out to me. So Schmoeville, if you want to be on the podcast, all you got to do is ask. I would love to have you on. I think that's all, man. I appreciate I appreciate you coming on. I loved hearing your perspective. I think Kristian and Mark and all those guys will love to hear it too. I guess I'll just let you plug whatever you have to plug. What do you want Schmoeville to know about you before we sign off?
Thank you again for letting me on the show. I enjoyed it a lot. I love the Schmoes. I love Collider. I love all this stuff. So getting to talk about it is fun because I don't get to do that often. You can follow me on Twitter at Luke Jaggers. You can follow me on Instagram at Luke_Jaggers. Add me on Facebook, Luke Jaggers. And here's the thing. I don't really post a lot in Schmoeville, but I'm in there. So if you like the episode, let me know. Please, if you didn't, flush us down the shitter. I actually run a YouTube channel that you can find on YouTube under The Drunk Nerd, which is one of our shows that we do. We do unboxing videos. We do gaming stuff, Geekery Gaming. We do comic book reviews. We do trailer reviews. We do all that fun stuff. Movie reviews, obviously. You can find that by searching The Geekery Collective on YouTube. I'll say that again, The Geekery Collective.
That's hard to say.
Yes, The Geekery Collective. Me, Connor Jones, Ryan, and my friend Lucas, we all run that together. We have The Drunk Nerd, which is a segment where we get drunk and talk about movie topics or gaming topics or whatever the case may be. Just all things nerdy. We have it over there. Make sure you please go check it out. I would really appreciate it if you did. We're almost to 100 subscribers, and we're trying to get over 100. But we've got really good quality over there. Connor kills it with our graphics. I'm also a graphic designer, by the way. But yeah, I love doing this stuff. You can also find us on iTunes by searching The Geekery Collective. I'll say that one more time for you. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope I didn't take it down the shitter, as I've been saying. I hope you guys enjoyed my voice. We miss you, Paul Wolf. And by the way, I want to say Paul Wolf has been killing it as well too. His kid sounds so cute. I'm so stoked for him and his little family and everything that he's doing. So yeah, I love this podcast. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm stoked.
No problem, man. It's my pleasure. Like I said, that's what we set out to do when we started this podcast. And yeah, I think the Schmoes would like to hear from people like you for sure. Like I said, yeah, Paul, we missed you this week. But yeah, I understand you have other commitments. I can't wait to talk to you again next week. Hopefully you're proud of the show as well. And if you're not, I'll steal from Kristian's mouth and say, you don't have to listen. Thank you for joining us again. You can find me on Twitter at FilmBeefSnell, and you can find the Film Beef Podcast. I was so busy this week because we had massive episodes come out. We reviewed The Jungle Book with the guys from the Astonishing Legends podcast. Their podcast is huge. So I was so happy that they joined us for that episode. And also I interviewed a contestant from NBC's Strong. If you like reality TV, definitely check out Strong on NBC. You can watch it on Hulu too. I actually went to high school with one of the contestants, and that's why I was able to interview her. So definitely go check that out. And I'm reviewing, I think, Midnight Special this week. Me and Phil on Film Beef are going to do that too. So definitely check out Film Beef if you have not already. And that's all I got. Thank you, Schmoeville, for listening to this episode, even though it was a little bit different than how we usually do it. Blame Paul for that. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.